Hello everyone, it's Alex, and this week we're going to start with modeling a frying pan. So I went around looking for something that I think could test some of the skills that you may or may not know, and I'll go step by step on how to get kind of what might look as like a complicated piece and break it down for you guys. So to show you the frying pan that we're going to use, I'm going to give you an image right now. Oh, hold on. There you go. So it's kind of like a wok, but we'll be modeling this and we'll kind of get all the little details you see here, like the bolts, the engraving. I can't see what it is, and so we don't have to. I mean, I don't know why anyone would model that, but we don't have to do that. We're gonna just go through step by step to how to model each piece, and we're gonna use some deformation. We're gonna use a bit of sauce selection, and um, I'll show you guys the lattice tool, which is a pretty neat tool. Definitely helps out when you need to make a a complicated object, uh, let's say manipulated as if it was a simple object. I'll show you what I mean in a bit. So here are a couple more images that I'll be giving you guys so that you can use for reference when you're going to be modeling it. So see, pretty simple, not too complicated, but it does have um, a bit of things that you will have to work on. All right, I'm going to move this to the side. Could have sworn there was another image in there. I'll make sure if it's not there to post it for you guys. So uh, to give you an idea of what it's going to look like in 3D, I went ahead and modeled it. So uh, here's my first attempt. Not exactly what was on the image, but it's close. It gets the job done. You know, there's your little bolts, and then back here you have your little metal bend. And it's got like that weird little I want to say like dent. And you got a little detail right there of kind of just showing a ring. And then over here, you know, you got your more metal bending. And if you check very closely with the image, just bring it up again. Oh, Jesus. No? Okay. Well, when I get to that, I'll show it to you. Hopefully it actually loads the image. I don't know why it's not loading. Anyways, so yeah, I'll get to teaching you guys how to model this. So to start, let me just make sure everything's here. Okay. So to start, we're gonna make the pot itself, and from there we'll work on the handle, and then we'll work on the second handle. So I'm gonna hide this, and we can start with a sphere. So uh, I know previously I'd be going up here to the poly modeling shelf and choosing sphere, but if you want a faster way to get to that, you can hold shift and then click right, and then you have the same thing here. So I'm just going to choose sphere, then go to that, and then I'm going to put the sphere above the grid. And I like to snap things whenever I can, so I'm going to manipulate the origin by holding D. And now see there's like a little yellow dot and a circle around the gizmo. So holding this manipulates only the origin of the mesh. So if I were to, you know, rotate it, nothing really happens except that you can tell the mesh is rotating. If I move the origin even downward just a little bit, you can see that it actually manipulates where the rotation is going to be, and this applies with moving and scaling as well. So let's start by holding D and then holding V. What that'll do, holding V, is it'll snap to vertexes. As you can see, I just point to a vertex that I want to snap it to. It can get a little finicky, but um, I'm going to just aim for the bottom of the circle. So there you go. And then I'm going to hold X and go to my move tool. This will snap to, I believe it's the grid. Let me make sure. Snap to grids, yeah. So in case you didn't notice, holding the X or the V button will show a highlight up here. And if I'm correct, it should show you the key. Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, well, I'll have to figure that one out later. So I'm gonna hold X and I'm gonna snap it to the grid. There you go. And then to get the first cut that I want, I'm gonna cut it right below the middle. So this line here would be the middle, but I'm gonna cut under it because the lip of the frying pan isn't a full circle. It kind of ends right before it would kind of get to this middle of a sphere. So I'm going to delete that, delete that. I'm going to come here, and what I'm going to do is manipulate this with a lattice. So if you don't know what a lattice is, it's kind of like a box, and then it has 4 vertices. And what this box does is if you put something inside the box, it manipulates everything in the mesh to follow the vertices of that box. So let me just grab the object. And before I start, I should delete history and freeze transformations. All right, there we go. So I'm going to come up here to the form, and I'm going to choose lattice. Once you select that, you see that the lattice is encompassing the mesh that you selected. So you have to be sure to select your mesh of whichever thing you're going to work on. So make sure it's selected, and then deform, lattice. So from here, we have more verts than we need. So I'm going to come over to the channel editor, and I'm going to choose this T division, and I'm going to scale that down. So now we just have a box. So you can still manipulate the vertices you have here, right? But if you choose the lattice, you go to lattice points. I think of them as verts, but you know, you can think of them however you want. Strange, that's never happened before. All right, selecting that, selecting that. Now, as you can see, anything inside the square is being manipulated as if it was influencing all the points inside. It reminds me a lot of like a transform tool in Photoshop when you're trying to, move around an object or scale it to different sizes. And if you can tell outside the box, nothing gets changed. So no matter how much I move this, even if I move it, even if I move the lattice past the verts that were outside, it doesn't change anything. So be careful with that. Um, it can be a bit dangerous if you try to edit your mesh after you add a lattice. So I'm just gonna back up. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna get back to the lattice. I'm gonna choose the top 4 points. I'm gonna scale it on the X and Z axis. So I'm gonna hold this green square. This will only affect the 2 axes down here. Scale it outward like that. That looks good. And then I'm gonna just bring it down a little bit to kind of get that like kind of like that angle right before it starts to curve outward. Okay, so that looks good. So whenever you're done with your lattice and you like how it looks, do not delete it, because if you do, it'll revert back to how it looked before you added the lattice. So if you want to get rid of it, what you need to do is come again over to Edit, Delete by Type, History, and then it'll remove the lattice. So you have to think of the lattice as part of the little information over here in the channel editor, kind of like when you make a bevel, like that. See, now it has the information over here, and you can affect it anytime you want. So, you know, there you go. You get rid of it by pressing Edit, Delete by Type, History, and then it's gone. So now it permanently makes the mesh this, and it'll remove any bugs that you could encounter in the future if you try to do way too many manipulations. Sometimes Maya can just bug out, but it is what it is. So, all right. So for here, um, what we will do is we will extrude the entire thing, and we're going to extrude it inwards. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to go inwards, and as you can see, the normals are facing inside. So yeah, if you can tell, there's the actual normals are actually supposed to be facing the opposite way. So if you have a problem like this, don't worry. It's really easy to fix. So from here, what you can do is hold Shift, right click, and then to the bottom right, there's a face normals. From here, you select reverse normals, and then it fixes it for you. So just be careful when you do stuff like this, because sometimes it can be easy to either not know where you are or think that you have a piece deleted when you really don't. So see, like, it's there and now it's not. It's actually selecting the mesh down here. Yeah. So be careful. It can happen, but it shouldn't be a problem. Right. So now we have that. And then we can start with flattening out the inner circle so we can get that kind of pan shape that we need. So I'm going to select the inner circles here, and I can do a box selection, but it will select the faces down here. So just to save on time, I'm going to hold tab, and it's going to bring up this circle with a plus sign. I just select what I want, and it'll select the faces without affecting the faces at the bottom or on the opposite side. So I'm going to grab this. Sorry, I keep focusing when I don't need to. And I'm going to scale it. And then I'm going to use the vert snap again to snap it up to here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to scale this edge so that it meets the outside of the pan. I'm going to scale this one too. So I'm using these as supporting edge loops. And while I could have just done this and made those supporting edge loops that I need, um, either way is fine because nothing's going to be manipulated within this area. So you can like leave space out. It's not a deal breaker or anything. Right. So we have that, and now we can come over to the bottom. So for this one, do the same thing. Hold tab, and then I'm just going to select the pieces I want to manipulate. Scale it so it's flattened out. Move it, and I'm going to snap it by holding V. Snaps to verts. And then I'm just going to scale this one to make a supporting edge. I'm not going to get as close as I did with the other ones. So I'm going to leave it like that. So you already, even like without smoothing it out, we get a nice little bevel right there. And then over here, get a strong bevel. Oh, perfect time to discuss about something like this. As you can tell, there's a little square over here that looks off. Um, Sometimes this will happen even if you try to fix the normals. So what we have here, if I'm correct, yeah, okay, so we have, I think, vertex normals. Uh, the vertex has their own normals and they tend to kind of do their own thing. I don't remember how to fix this. Oh my god, it's been so long since I've seen this problem. This doesn't usually normally happen, so yeah, if you can see, almost all the other verts have them pointing straight out like that, but the ones we have over here, they have like two or yeah, they have about like 2 points going out. Um, so what we can do to fix this is just deleting the face and making a new face. That should fix our problem. Okay, still didn't work. Um, if that doesn't work, try smoothing it and then there you go. So um, sometimes it is just having to smooth out the edges. Sometimes you do have to manipulate your vertex normals. Uh, it it can be kind of annoying to fix, but make sure you take your time with something like that. All right, so back to the modeling. If I smooth this out, should get a nice little, nice looking pan. No complaints. At least I don't think so. And I'm gonna look at my reference again, just one more time before I start. I could stretch it, I could squish it down a bit more, but whatever, I'll do it again. So I'm gonna go back to deform, lattice, take these down because I don't need them, lattice point, and then I'm just gonna, before I start that, I'm gonna smooth this with the smooth preview, and then I'm gonna bring it down again. There we go. Now it's looking a lot more like it. If you don't know how to do a smooth preview, it'll be the it'll be set to 1, 2, and 3. So 1 will be um, no smoothing, just kind of like your regular modeling. 2 will show you the smooth preview, but it'll also show you your regular mesh. And so that way you can get an idea of how it would look if you were to smooth this out. Like if you take it into ZBrush, this is how it'll look. And then 3 should just show you the smooth image. So now that we're done with this, I think we can call this pan piece done. I'm gonna go back to delete by type, history, and modify freeze transforms. Okay, so we're done with that. So next we're gonna move on to the handle. So the handle is really just a cylinder and then it has a bit of like a, how do you want to call it? It has a grip that goes in and out. So I'm gonna start with making a cylinder. I'm gonna rotate this, move it up. No, move it up here, scale it. Maybe a little bit smaller. Actually, no, that should be fine because we're gonna shrink it again in the middle, so it kind of gives the the look that we want. And scale it to about there should be fine. Let's make it a little bit longer. Okay, so with this, what we're going to do is we're going to add some loops. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come over to multi-cut. So for multi-cut, we're going to start cutting it in. I'll cut it in the middle. And I know there's a way to cut multiple times with one cut, but oh, it should be right here. No, that's not it. Okay. I know there's a way to do it, but I prefer just making one cut, and then if I need to add more, I can just bevel it. So something like that, I honestly prefer doing. So with this, what we're gonna do, we're not gonna bend it from the middle because that's not what it looks like. It actually bends a little bit over here, closer to the pan. So I'm gonna soft select, and I'm going to bevel out the piece. Not bevel out, I don't know what I'm saying. Scale it. So I'm gonna grab the scale tool, and I'm going to, again, scaling it. That looks good. Not too much. It's very subtle, but it is going to look different once you see it at an angle. So now I'm going to take these faces and remove any selections that I have. I'm going to just move it a little bit, not too much. Yeah, it's like a smidge. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to bevel it. So to bevel it, go to edge, grab this, Control B to bevel, and leave it at, I think, 1. That should be fine. If I really care that much about how the normals look, I'm going to just make an extrusion by Control E and change the offset. If you ever have a hard time manipulating your offset, hold Control and then choose the one of the options here. When you drag left and right, it'll make the selection a lot easier to handle with instead of trying to get it to look right even though you're barely moving your mouse. So there you go, something like that. I have no idea what that is. That's okay, because there you go. We don't need that part. Or this part, whatever the heck this is. Yeah, we can just take all that out, fill the hole, grab the face, poke it, give it a poke. There you go. That was it. I don't have to worry that much. So, gonna come over to the back, and in the back, it's a different thing happening. There has to be a hole for the ring that is going to be modeled inside. And it's not going to be a tight fit. The design kind of shows a bigger hole, which I think they screw the, what is that? Like the ring. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to go back to regular, not smooth. Grab these. And we're going to do the same extrusion kind of thing. So Control E. Wait a minute. Am I selecting anything? Oh, that's weird. Ah, there it is. Figured we were selecting something. Right. deselect everything, hold Control or hold Tab. Okay, now it's right. Control E. There we go. For whatever reason. Okay, so around there should be fine. Then we're gonna hit Control E again, bring it down to about here, and then Control E one more time. And this time hold Control and manipulate the offset. Control E one last time just to get that look. Okay, there we go. So this inner divot is where the screw will go, and then this outer divot is kind of the design that they went with in the image or in the frying pan. So I'm gonna grab this, bevel it, and then I'm not gonna change the fraction. I'm just gonna add another segment so that when you come in, you can see it's got like a nice bevel to it. These right here, gosh, oh my gosh, there we go. The innermost circles, I'm gonna manipulate, lower the fraction, get a look at it. Yeah, that's good. And then I'm gonna grab the outer one, the outermost circle in this extrusion. I'm gonna bevel that. And then on the safe side, I'm gonna add another segment so it gets that sharp look. It won't really matter how detailed the inside looks because we won't really be noticing it. Yeah, we won't really be noticing it. So there you go. We're intentionally gonna leave the outside edge soft because that is what the reference looks like. It's not a sharp edge. If you want to add a sharp edge, you can manipulate the edge with a bevel. So from here, go there. Maybe like a 3. There you go. So remember, you can always come back and adjust a bevel that you make in case you don't like how it looked in the channel box or layer editor. So even like a bevel that I made before, I can still manipulate it. So keep that in mind. Really useful, especially when you're not sure if you liked how your edits looked. Do keep in mind once you delete by type history, it all goes away. So once that's done and you've you've gone too far, uh, you're gonna have to figure out another way to fix your bevels. So that looks good. Front looks good. So now we'll move on to the metal pieces on both ends. So I'm gonna start with the closest to the pan. From here, I'm gonna grab a sphere. I'm gonna rotate it. Come on. I'm gonna rotate it. And then I'm going to manipulate it to the height that I need. Scale it down. Manipulate it to there. So that when I scale it, it's perfectly centered. And just for clear visualization, I'm going to smooth that out so I can tell where the where the sphere is supposed to go. So in the image, it's not a perfect circle. It actually is kind of like an egg. So I'm going to just stretch this out just a teeny bit And then I'm going to smooth it out. Okay, let me scale it a little bit down so we get, yeah, there you go. A bit of definition right there on the wood. So there's that. And then gonna make another cylinder. Or actually, you know what? We can just grab this. Gonna copy it. Then I'm going to delete half of it. I know what I'll do. Okay, I'll delete half of this. Delete that. Leave myself with this. Scale it so it's flat. That is not what I wanted. Okay. Delete this edge. Be careful when you're deleting edges to delete the vertices that are there as well. So if I want to delete the vertices along with the edge, I hit Control and then I press delete. There you go. So, all right, gonna grab the faces, hit extrude. Go. And then from here, I'm gonna make the little welding that they had where they flattened this cylinder. Oh my god, it's not welding. Man, I really don't know myself. They're gonna flatten the verts or the metal so that it becomes a square. So to do that, I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna make another extrusion. So with this extrusion, I'm gonna just take it a little bit further, and then I'm gonna grab edges and flatten it. So here to there, I think should be fine. All right, so we're gonna take this, and then we're gonna align it to that edge, and it's the one that was the last vert on the selection on each side. That way it aligns like perfectly straight. There you go. Same thing over here. Flatten. Go. And yeah, we can just leave it like that. All right, so now I'm gonna select all of these edges. No, that's not what I wanted. Huh, worked perfectly fine the last time. Ah, there it is. Okay. So with this, what I'm gonna start doing next is I'm gonna start connecting the verts on top and bottom. So I go to vertex and I'm gonna just bring up the modeling toolkit. I'm gonna go to multi-cut. So first I'm gonna start with the edges on the side. Now I'm gonna work my way to, I keep forgetting to hit enter. Work my way down. I just take my time. There, there, there. Okay, so, okay, gotta be careful. Sometimes the vertex won't actually snap, so you may have to do that again. There, perfect. So, next I'm going to smooth it out, see where I am. So, I have that done. And then what I need to do, oh, no, that's not it. I need to, I can just delete this part actually. There, so when I finish working on this, it's gonna snap over here, like so. I'm gonna extrude this again. Then I'm going to make a bevel out of this piece. I'm going to keep it fairly short so it kind of does a transition. And then I'm going to multi-cut. Okay, so now to get a kind of weld look, I'm going to grab this and this. Oh, right, it's two sides. Sorry. Go. I'm just going to go into the smooth preview and I'm going to manipulate so we start getting that bend. And then I'm going to soft select down my soft selection because I don't need it to be that strong. And I'm going to start moving it backwards. Keep in mind, don't get too crazy with it because sometimes you can come all the way over here and then, you know, it won't look like that when you're in smooth preview. So just be aware. And then I'm going to take it a little bit further by just grabbing the vertices of the middle part. There we go. So now we have we're starting out with a little bit of a crease. So not too shabby, not too shabby. So from here, do is we can add an edge loop to get a sharp look to the end. And there you go. You got like a pretty good so far flattened edge. So if you want to kind of polish it up, you're going to need to come in here and manipulate a couple of these vertices. So bring this down. Bring both of them down at the same time. There you go. A little bit cleaner. Um, got that going on. So we want to, well, we can try this. You know what? Let's try this. I didn't do this the last time, but maybe we can go for something here. So what I'm going to start with is making a cut in the middle. And we're going to just make this cut right here specifically. I'm going to do on the same side. And then what I'm going to do, delete these. Now we don't need them. And I am correct. Yep, there you go. You get a bit of a sharper bevel than how you had before. So this is what you have now, and this is what you had before. So and even up close, like it's kind of hard to tell, but if you zoom out, you can see it's got that nice little flattened out look, and can't see it too well, but there is a bit of artifacting happening in the middle on the bottom part. So just a trick. If you want, you could technically take care of this, take care of that. No, you need that. Then you can bevel these. The beveling Yeah, there you go. Does that, so now you get a nice crisp look. And if you need to manipulate your edges or what have you, do your thing. There you go. Nice crisp look. And that's just from modeling in Maya. So if you have this, but you don't have that on your bottom piece, what you can do is mirror it. So I'm going to delete half of the bottom part, or half of the mesh. So select down here and select the bottom part. So it kind of clicks the bottom half. Delete the bottom. Before I start, I'm just going to make sure that my meshes are more or less clean. I don't want to have to clean them again after I make this mirror. Down a little bit. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay. Yeah, this looks good. Okay, so I'm going to select the mesh. You just make sure yeah, okay, so again, I'm gonna delete history and freeze transforms. I've made my own custom shelf, and so from here I can just press freeze transformations and delete history. The pivot is in the middle, and that's what you're gonna need to do unless you want floating objects. Make sure that when you start a mirror that your pivot is where it needs to be. Here, you know what? I'll show you what happens if it doesn't work out. So, have your pivot down there, and maybe you forgot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift, right click, and I'm going to come down to Mirror. So, off the bat, we kind of have this weird thing going on. But that's because it's mirroring towards the x-axis, and if you can see down here in this little area, the x-axis is going like left to right from this mesh. So it's kind of folding in on itself. To change it, we'll change it to Y. And just like Y, why is it all the way down there? That is because of the pivot. So if I were to alter the pivot, yeah, see, it even disappears. I don't know why it does that. Okay, well, we'll just delete this. And then we'll freeze history. Okay, then we'll try it again. Mirror. And even then it didn't work. All right, well, that's nice to know. Okay. So for whatever reason, Maya, in its infinite wisdom, it likes to be a jerk sometimes. So if this ever happens, just just kind of work with what you have. That's the best advice I can give you, honestly. Um, Fiddle with this, and we can call it done there, and then come over here to the mesh itself. Then we can extract the faces, so now they're separate. Object mode, center pivot, and manipulate it. Up here, join the pieces, combine, and then vertex, select the middle verts. Let me just make sure I have them all. Yeah, so only selecting the middle ones. Then, oh gosh. Okay. And then we can merge vertices and then merge vertices again. So this will give you a threshold, and then you need to manipulate it so that it only merges with the vertices that are stacked right on top of each other. So obviously this is too much, and what just happened? Okay, so that should take care of the vertices. Yeah, so now they're snapped, and before they weren't. So let me just bring it up again and show you before it collapses on itself. So they weren't before, and select them all again. Double check. Yep, grabbed two by accident. So yeah, they weren't merged. They weren't merged before, and now they will be. Now that's too much, so I need to bring this down to another 0. Did that work? I thought I just did it. Ah, I see. Okay, can't add another 0. You have to go from only to the third decimal, or the third number. I don't know what it's called. All right, so now it's merged. Yeah, see, only one. Okay, so now you have both sides with the work that we did. If you get these hard edges, just select your mesh, soften. There you go. Because now when we smooth it, now we have the nice looking edge on both sides. All right, so we did the first part of the side. Well, now we're going to work on the other side. So to start with this, I'm going to select a torus, and then I'm going to move it over here, scale it before I start manipulating the ring itself. So I'm going to grab this, grab an edge, and then I'm going to come over to the inputs in the channel box, going to select section radius, and I think 3 is good. Yeah, 3 should be good. So here we go. All right, already halfway through. It's honestly not that difficult. Definitely takes practice because working with faces and edges and verts, you'll definitely run into problems if you're still new to some of these techniques. So I'm going to start with going to edges, and I'm going to bring up the multi-cut, and I'm going to come over here to edge flow and turn that on. So now it's going to take a whatever cut I make and try to smooth out an edge. So I'll show you why. So I made the cut right there on the, let's just say the left side of the ring right here. So now I'm going to come to face, select this ring and delete it because now we don't need it. That rhymed. Then I'm going to grab this, do this. So I'm just going to change it to face straight down, and I'm going to just bring it straight down. No fuss. And then I'm just going to bring it right to the middle. Okay, so now when we smooth it out, you see we have still a bit of a wonky look to this thing. So just to play it safe, I'm going to make another cut. If you want the shortcut to multi-cut, just Control Shift X, and there you go. So there's that. Gonna go back to faces. Nope. And do that. All right. So gonna go back to the non-smooth version, and I'm gonna multi-cut. Say right there. Okay. So with that there, I'm gonna select it or select the edges of it and then move it more to the middle. And then I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to make another cut, like right around here. So that way it's kind of like halfway between this edge and this edge. But not counting the one in the middle, but making kind of like our new middle edge. That's about good enough. And now we don't need this one anymore. And then we're going to close this face. So I selected the edges, hold shift, right click, fill hole. Now the hole's filled. I'm going to select the face, shift, right click, and then poke face. So now when we smooth it, now we have this nice little look. It's got like a hook to it. So from here, we can just bevel this a little so it's kind of got a nice edge to it. I don't really need to, but I'm just going to for this video, and you can too if you want. It doesn't have to be one-to-one how the model looks or how the reference looks. So I'm gonna just grab this, manipulate it some more, this one as well, manipulate it a little bit more, right to where it's touching, and that should be good. All right, so there you go. So with that, we've made the back piece, and we can add the bolts to the back. So it has a couple of little bolt-looking things. If I can find the reference. Okay, I'll have to look for it again. Well, it shouldn't be too difficult. It's actually like just a simple primitive. So I'm gonna just make another, oh, gotta deselect that. Make another sphere. And then scale this baby all the way down. Scale it again, but for now, this will do. Scale it again. Make sure it's right where it needs to be. Scale it, snap it to the bottom of the metal. Scale it again. And just flatten it a little bit because, again, this is supposed to be like a, what do you want to call it? Like the head of a bolt, I guess. Yeah, that's probably what it's called. Um, there you go. So now when you start attaching this to the pot, it'll have that. It does have little bolt heads on inside the pot, but we can get to that later. All right, so we have this. Looks pretty good so far. And then we can start working on the other handle. So to the other handle, we're going to just make another cylinder. I'm going to rotate this, move it, scale it. You already know. And then, let's see, scale it some more while we're at it till it's around here. Yeah, it should be fine. And then scale it a little bit to the sides so we can get a bit of a longer grip. The grip should be, I think the grip is shorter in the reference, but just for the sake of this model, we'll make it a little bit bigger. That way you can see it, because, man, that grip looks tiny in the reference. All right, so I'm going to place this right above the lid of the pot. And then just for my own sanity, I'm going to make sure in orthographic view, it's going to look, it's just about to touch there. There you go. So that's how it looks like in the top view, the reference. So I'm going to keep it like that. All right, so we're going to mirror this. So from the beginning, I'm just going to cut in the middle. Oh, right, gotta take off edge below. And then I'm gonna not cut it because we don't need to cut it. I'm gonna just cut it in half, and when we finish, we're just gonna mirror and we'll just have done half the work. So the image itself, I'll show to you right now. It's got a bit of a weird, not the handle itself, but it's got a cut inside, a little wonky. So it looks like it cuts into the cylinder and then it's almost like a square cut. Looks like they just took a chunk of a square block out of it. So we're gonna try and do our best to do the same thing. So to start, what we're gonna need to do is make a selection on the edges, and then I'm gonna press Control E to extrude, and I'm gonna affect the offset until it's, let's say, there. Yes. Let's go in here and manipulate it just a little bit. I think it's a little bit too, no, wrong way. A little bit too small. I think that should be perfect. Okay. So from here, we're going to, I believe we're going to extrude again. And we're just going to put this down here for now. So this will be our cut, and we'll get more complicated right now. So I'm going to hit multi-cut and then make a cut right here. If you want to snap your cuts, first press Control to do a ring cut or a loop cut, and then hold Shift, and this will snap. I believe it's to certain degrees. Yeah, it'll snap to certain degrees between the points of the faces that you're at. So from one side to the other side, it'll kind of go from, I think, 5 increments. So we'll start with, let's make it a little deeper. There you go. So I'm gonna select these. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Caps lock is on. Okay. I'm gonna vertex snap to that cut, and you will see why right now. So the cut in the reference looks like it just goes flat from right here to right here, and it just straight down makes a cut. So to do this, we're going to multi-cut right here. I want to say like, yeah, there you go, right there. The thing I'm doing here, I'm holding Shift and I'm holding Control. And so what Maya will do is it'll try to, its best, it'll try to make a straight edge, a straight cut downward. And usually I think this works by 90-degree angles. So I'm just going to do that. And then I'll get out of this. I believe from here, we can just delete all this actually, I think. If I remember correctly. Don't want to mess this up. Be embarrassing. Alright, so that's taken care of. And we do have a bit of problem here, but honestly, it's as easy as just welding it. So I'm going to grab target weld. I'm going to go to vertex mode. Grab this, weld it, this, weld it. And then just to make things clean, I'm going to snap these vertices and these vertices so that it's all straight. And it really doesn't matter that much with the bottom piece. Like, sure, that's not a perfect circle, but really no one's going to notice that. Right, so from here, probably just delete these faces because we probably won't need them. So I'm going to grab this edge and then this edge, shift right click, and I'm going to choose bridge. I'll do the same over here, bridge. If you have divisions, don't worry, just bring it down to 0. It shouldn't cause a problem um, with your vertices. As long as you bring it down to 0. If you bring it up to, like 1 or 2, or you start to have your artifact problems where it just has floating, I think it's floating vertices. Right, so here, I'm going to grab this piece, and then we're going to bridge it. So the reason I didn't delete this is because I needed the edges for these pieces right here, so I can close off this this hole. So there we go. Now we have the cut we were looking for, and why don't we clean up this right here, because now we have some end guns right in the middle, and we do not want that unless we want to be in, what do you want to call it, model purgatory. Okay, so grab this, and then connect. It's over here. Connect. And that didn't do anything. All right. Well, that's nice to know. Okay. I'm just going to try it one more time with multi-cut. Like that. What do you know? It just doesn't want to. I wonder why that is. All right. I think I have an idea. Yep. There we go. That's why. Got floating vertices. That shouldn't be a problem. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so I'm just gonna make my cut right there, cut right there, cut right there. I don't know why I keep pressing that button. Gosh darn it. All right. Just gonna snap these to their respective places. There you go. All right. So now what I'm gonna do, and did they even snap? Did they? Whatever. I just grab these vertices, and I'm going to come over here, the X-ray mode, merge verts center, grab these, and just do the same to them. If you don't know what the repeat last action button is, it's G. So anytime you press G, you can just do the same action. There you go. So now we have everything welded, so it's nice and clean. And we can clean this up more if we want to, but I'll just leave it at that. All right, so now we're gonna get the curve that we want for this bevel. There we go. So normally, one would think I can just model it like this and then, get this look right here, right? But we have a little problem. A bit of an artifacting going on right over here. So if you're running into a problem like this, don't worry, it's actually pretty easy to fix. So I'm gonna jump back right before we got to there. And I'm gonna add a loop. So Shift X, hold on. I think my keyboard decided to stop working. There we go. All right, so Shift X, And then, actually, yeah, that's pretty good. All right, make a cut right there. And then what I'm going to do is make another cut there and right there. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding an anchor to these edges right here. So in theory, what should happen is when I select these to make my smoothing, it will make think of it like a buffer so that it kind of keeps it smooth and doesn't create an artifact. There you go. See? No artifacting. Nice and smooth. How I'm assuming you'd want it. So come back here, go back to the bevel. Change this to a 1 so it's nice and sharp. Actually, you know what we should do? Because I think it's supposed to be sharper. We're going to bring the fraction up to 3 and add a segment. Okay, so there you go. Not too bad. Can get a bit of artifacting right here. Be careful with the more segments you add to a bevel, the more likely you'll get an artifact. Even up here, you're getting some artifacting. So don't worry, it's normal. You just need to kind of work on it. So here we have, it's still kind of there. So let me just make the cut or make the extrusion. Oh my God, make the bevel that I want. I think I have it set to 4. Yeah. And then here I'm going to connect the UVs, or the UVs, the vertices. So multi-cut, cut there and there. Well, not really what I wanted, but it should be fine. I think this is more of an outside part of the mesh. Either way, it's still good to make a nice clean mesh, because later you'll run into n-gons and that's not going to be fun. All right, so for this one down here, the reason why it's having this weird artifact is because we have edge going this way, an edge going that way, and an edge going this way, and they're not meeting to anywhere else. They're just kind of going in empty space. And specifically, we have n-gons coming out right here. So to fix that, we're just going to connect here to make loops. And then we should have a clean model. And you can see it's better, but there's still a little bit of artifacting. So we still have these right here. And then I check it again. Better, but there's still something holding it back. I believe it's these right here. Yeah, this should be what's causing it. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to add another supporting edge loop. There we go, nice and smooth. Even here, you can see there's like this slight artifact. That's just kind of be the angle you're going to have it at. You can fix that if you really want to by bringing this up and bringing this up. But in my opinion, you're gonna get more trouble than you're looking for, because see, now there's also like this flat looking part here. It doesn't have to be, extremely like flat surface perfect. You just kind of got to get what you can out of it. And already, like this is already pretty good. So no worries. Right, so now we have half the handle and we have it halfway done. So what we're gonna do, we're going to grab the metal piece we had over here that we made for the handle, make a copy of it. So we're going to use this to manipulate and make our own other piece, if you will. And we're going to use this to make the handle for this side. So with this piece, and I forgot the metal that came with the bottom, we'll need that. Let me just combine this really quick. Yeah, all right, looks good. Going to combine it. And then going to come over here. Align it so it's nice and clean. And then I'm going to add some cuts to it. So 1, 2. I'm going to add some cuts up to the top more than the bottom. All right, there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bend this so that it goes into the handle. And I know before you saw me use like just grabbing and turning the verts. We can do that, but we can also use a deformation called bend. So I'm going to come up here to deform, go to nonlinear, and go to bend. So this little like line, I'm going to change it so it's facing upward just like the metal. Come to channel box, and here it has bend 1. So if I were to manipulate this, as you can see, it has a bend. So I'll start with -90 because that's what it looks like is being used to bend the way we want it. But we have the bottom piece bending as well. So what you should do is finagle or just play around with the options you have, and the low bound is going to be the one we want. So this will keep the bottom piece from moving no matter how much we affect the curvature. And then the envelope's like pretty much the overall restriction. So if we put it at 0, nothing's going to curve. So put it at 1 and it'll curve. So this is a good curve, but we want a tighter bend. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just double the 90 with another, so 180. And then I'm going to grab the bend manipulator and bring it upward. As you can see, it's following this line right here. So whatever part of the mesh I have being affected by it, that's where it'll bend, so to speak. Bring it back to where I had it. And if I want to be super nitpicky about it, like that. Yeah, that looks fine. All right, so now that's done. We can come to the mesh, oh, no, delete by type history, and then freeze transforms. Make sure to delete your history before you freeze transforms, or else you'll have what I just had for that 1 second. All right, so we can keep this because next we're going to be bending the metal the other way where we're going to make it flat. So let's see. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to move this upward. There. Then we're going to make another bend. So let me just freeze transforms and history again. We're going to do another nonlinear bend. What is that manipulator? Why is it there? It's so weird. Alright, so now it's in the middle. And then this time, we're going to make a curvature going out like this. So let's do, I don't know, let's start with 30. Work our way there. Or not, Maya said. Okay. So let's bring the low bound to a 2? -2? Hold on. It's being finicky with me. Okay. And then let's manipulate the bend modifier again. Okay. So we're getting what we want, but it's still... There we go. All right, so we're getting the curvature we want at the angle we want. How about that? So let me just take a look at the picture again. And it goes out as far. Control Z. Actually, that should be like right around there. Just manipulate a little bit more. Add it there. And that should be good. All right. We don't need to go any further than that. Just make sure my mesh up here is fine. Yeah, that should be fine. I can just delete history, freeze transforms, and then I can just flatten this. Take it over here into the mesh. Right, so now that I have that done, and I have this piece over here, move this. That should be good. All right, so now we have our pieces, and just to make sure that it looks like the model, I'll have this going in more, starts to bend right where the curve of the metal and the cut of the wood meet. All right, so that looks good. So we can do now, we can this rotate at an angle. So let's combine this. Combine, rotate at an angle. Let's say there. Yeah, there's probably the best. And then go back to orthographic top view to make sure that it's going to stay where I want it to stay. There. Perfect. And nice. So it's going to be right where I want it to be to make it look like it's screwed into the pan. So what to do now is to, there's plenty of ways to do it, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these faces, including the bolt, or the head of the bolt, and the soft select. And I'm going to soft select just the area up here. So I'm going to pull out the rotate, and I'm just going to rotate it to actually, you know what? I'm going to influence the top a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to rotate it to kind of make it go into the pan. Okay. looks about good. There you go. Not too shabby. So, with that done, we can just take this, delete history, freeze transforms, then we can snap the origin over here, and just to be safe, just snap it to the middle. Then one more time to the middle. Or I guess as close to the middle as we can get to at this point. All right, and then we can shift right click mirror, and there you go. Bada bing. Like we didn't have to do anything in the first place. Let's finish with making the pieces right here. So I'm going to grab all these, excluding the pan, and I'm just going to combine. And then I'm going to bend it, rotate it. To like around there. That should be fine. And have it set to like a, oh, no, okay, hold on. Set to around there. I'm going to do the same thing how I did on the other side. I'm going to grab these faces. That, grab the circle, soft select, and rotate it. And then rotate a little bit more just so we can get that nice looking look. Yes, that's nice looking bend right there. There we go. Not too shabby. So that should be the model. Oh, almost forgot. You need to give this a bit of a bend. So let me just add a support loop right here. So actually, hold on. I need to get out of smooth preview. Add a loop right here and a loop right here. Now I'm going to select the middle and do a soft selection. It's fine if the inside is also affected. Don't worry about it. I mean, if you're going to worry about it, just take it out, but you don't need to. So I'm going to grab this so it affects only the Y and Z axis, because if I do this, it's going to, if I grab the middle, it's going to go inward. So grab this. There you go. Nice little handle. Again, being subtle with the handle, the wood pieces at least, because they're not that big of an indent. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I almost forgot the bigger bolts in the middle. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab this bolt, and come over to Shift right click, duplicate face. So now it makes its own mesh, and I can manipulate. I'm gonna hit all the buttons up here, delete history, freeze transforms, and center pivot. That way I can make a freestanding mesh that I need. Scale this. Let's say, yeah, it looks good. Rotate it just ever so slightly. Down, copy it. Actually, these need to go down a little bit more. So I'll leave this here. This down to, say, here. Cool, we got one side done. Now I'll just grab this, copy it. over here and rotate it. Okay. Now I'm going to bring it over to this side. And I'm going to just kind of aim it with my eye on where it should be. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay. Going to manipulate it, so I'm just going to drag it within the sphere as I see fit. There you go. Now I'm gonna try mirroring it. We'll see if this actually works. Let me just freeze transforms. Okay. So just double check. Yeah, so that's where they go. Okay. Okay. Shift right click mirror. And there you go. Sweet. Hey, that worked out. So there you go. It's not too hard. It just takes some time. Make sure you just work at your pace. Obviously, I want you to understand what you're doing as you're working. So if you have any questions, let me know. What I would like to see up to this part is just the model. We're going to work on texturing in another video. I'll try to get that done by tomorrow. If not, you'll have it ready on Tuesday night, the latest. And I'll see you then. All right. Bye, guys.